Breaking news! The NFL draft is coming up, and something unexpected is coming up for the Miami Dolphins. A name that many thought would never realistically be mentioned in connection with Miami is suddenly in the mix. I'll give you all the details, but first make sure you've already hit the like button, but only do so if you agree with me that Chris Grier should be fired. If possible, comment like this: the Miami Dolphins live in my heart. Now let's get to the point. We're anticipating the draft, and the atmosphere behind the scenes is pretty heated. A new name has been mentioned, and I'll tell you who he is. Shedeur Sanders. That's right, the son of Deion Sanders, Colorado's electric quarterback, may have a path to South Florida. Now, before anyone gets too excited or too nervous, let's break this down. First, this conversation didn't come out of nowhere. ESPN insider Adam Schefter dropped a tidbit of information on a recent podcast suggesting that the Miami Dolphins could actually be in the running for Shedeur Sanders if he's still on the board at number 13. And yes, it's speculation, but Schefter doesn't just throw things out there without reason. He pointed out that there's a possible exit route for Tua Tagovailoa after this season, and that if health concerns persist, the Dolphins may just look to secure a potential successor. Schefter didn't guarantee anything, but he didn't rule it out either. So what if Shedeur is available at 13? Let's talk about what kind of quarterback he is and whether he fits in the Dolphins' offensive scheme. Shedeur Sanders has been a 4-year starter between Jackson State and Colorado, and he's improved each year. From 2023 to 2024, his completion percentage climbed, his yardage went up, and he threw more touchdowns. Yeah, turnovers increased too, but that's expected when you're pushing the ball downfield more aggressively. Growth is growth, and you saw it. Where Sanders really shined: when kept clean in the pocket. Behind a subpar offensive line at Colorado, that wasn't easy. But when he did have protection, he posted a stunning 81% completion rate, 25 touchdowns, and just 5 interceptions. He's decisive, smart, and gets the ball out quickly when blitzed, something that pairs beautifully with Miami's RPO-heavy offense that thrives on rhythm throws, quick decisions, and letting playmakers like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle rack up yards after the catch. Shedeur's skill set checks a lot of boxes for what Mike McDaniel wants: quick decision-making, accuracy, and the ability to handle pressure. His ball placement stands out. He throws receivers open, hits them in stride, and understands how to maximize YAC opportunities. He's not the most athletic quarterback in the class, but he's mobile enough to escape pressure and gain solid yards with his legs when needed. That underrated athleticism adds a layer to his game that doesn't get enough attention. Now, he's not without flaws. Shedeur doesn't have that cannon arm that guys like Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels possess. He's not going to wow you with absurd velocity or jaw-dropping off-platform throws. He can also hold onto the ball too long while hunting for the big play, which is a red flag at the next level. And then there's the question of celebrity. He's got a huge following, massive nil presence, and a spotlight that can be a blessing or a distraction. Would that energy mesh well in the Dolphins locker room? Let's also not overlook the Tua Tagovailoa comparison. Dan Orlovsky himself mentioned it. These two quarterbacks share a lot of the same strengths: timing, rhythm, ball placement. They're also both limited in arm strength and pure athleticism. If you're a Dolphins fan frustrated by Tua's ceiling, you may not find Sanders to be a significant upgrade in that department. In fact, some would argue their ceilings are nearly identical. And that's where the draft philosophy question kicks in. If you're Chris Grier or Mike McDaniel, are you willing to hitch your future to a quarterback that mirrors Tua in so many ways? Drafting a rookie QB generally buys a regime a fresh 2 to 3 year window. But does Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, have the patience to go through another developmental process when this team is supposed to be in win-now mode? That's the real dilemma. Miami needs help at cornerback. They need to shore up the offensive and defensive lines. Safety is still a question mark. If Sanders is sitting there at 13, do you take a shot on a QB that might not even surpass your current one? Or do you plug one of those roster holes that could make the team immediately better in 2025? This isn't just about talent. It's about fit, timing, and vision. Miami is in a position where every pick matters. If you burn a first-rounder on a quarterback who doesn't elevate you beyond what Tua already gives you, what's the point? Still, it's not hard to see why Sanders intrigues some in the Dolphins community. He's accurate, he's battle-tested, he's smart, and he fits stylistically. But unless you believe he's going to take you further than Tua ever could, this feels like a luxury pick the Dolphins just can't afford. Maybe another team takes that shot. Maybe he slides. Maybe the Dolphins trade back and someone else grabs him. But if they stay at 13, don't be shocked if they go another direction. But now it's your turn. What do you think? If Shedeur Sanders is available at pick 13, Do you draft him? Is he the future of this franchise, or just another name in the endless search for a quarterback who can finally take Miami all the way? Let me know in the comments. Type D for draft or P for pass. And as always, keep it locked in right here for more Dolphins talk every day. And if you're still with me, Dolphins fans, here's where things get even more interesting. The ripple effects of this decision, whether to draft Shedeur Sanders or pass, go far beyond just quarterback depth. It sends a message about how this front office sees the future of the franchise, not just for 2025, but for the next half-decade. Let's get real. If the Dolphins select a quarterback at 13, it means they're not just preparing for life after Tua, they're expecting it. You don't use a premium draft pick on a guy you're not planning to start eventually. And if that quarterback is as similar to Tua as the scouting reports suggest, then you have to ask, is this front office admitting they've reached the ceiling with their current QB? And if that's the case, then why not aim higher? We've seen what happens when teams swing big at quarterback. Look at the Texans, who went all in on C.J. Stroud and got instant results. Or the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. Even if it takes a year or two, those teams are building around quarterbacks with elite physical traits, big arms, athleticism, improvisational ability. Shedeur Sanders, for all his talent and polish, just doesn't scream that kind of ceiling. He's precise, he's composed, but he's not a home run pick. He's more of a solid double, safe, dependable, but unlikely to drastically change your offensive ceiling. So what should the Dolphins do instead? Well, that's where things really start to open up. The 13th pick could be used to reinforce the trenches. We know the offensive line has been a weak point, protecting Tua has always been a concern, and investing in a versatile lineman would pay immediate dividends. Or what about adding firepower to the secondary? With Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard not getting any younger, this would be the perfect spot to bring in a young corner who can learn from the best while locking down one side of the field for years to come. There's also the option of trading back. If Sanders starts to slide, teams below Miami might panic and try to leapfrog each other to get him. That could net Miami an extra pick or two, giving them more flexibility on days 2 and 3. And let's be honest, this team needs depth. Injuries were a huge part of the story last season, and the more quality players they can bring in, the better. But if Miami does pull the trigger and take Sanders, they'll be betting on the idea that coaching and scheme fit will elevate him beyond his perceived ceiling. Mike McDaniel's offense is all about quick throws, RPOs, motion, and getting the ball to playmakers in space. Sanders has already shown he thrives in that kind of system. He'd have elite weapons in Hill and Waddle, a creative mind calling plays, and an infrastructure designed to protect and simplify the game for him. He'd also get the benefit of sitting behind Tua for at least a year. That learning period could be invaluable, especially in today's NFL where young quarterbacks are often rushed into action too soon. Sanders could take that time to adjust to the speed of the league, work on his mechanics, and build chemistry with his new team. Then, if Miami decides to move on from Tua after the season, Sanders could slide right into a system tailor-made for him. So Dolphins fans, the question I leave with you is this. Is Shedeur Sanders the kind of quarterback you trust to lead this team to the next level? Would you take a calculated risk and try to reshape the future at pick 13? Or would you double down on winning now, adding help where it's needed and keeping faith in the core that's already here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the Dolphins draft Shedeur Sanders if he's there? Or should they pass and build around Tua one more time? Let's hear it.